The Galactic Assembly Chamber floated in the void between stars, a monument to civilization and cooperation. Inside its crystalline halls, representatives from 400 species conducted the business of maintaining peace across 70,000 worlds. Trade agreements were signed. Territorial disputes were mediated. Wars were prevented through careful diplomacy and mutual economic interest. Today's session should have been routine. Ambassador Kelisvar of the Kellian hierarchy stood at the central podium, proposing new tariffs on rare metals flowing through the Orion Passage. The Kellians were the Assembly's enforcers, their military the largest in known space. When Kelisvar spoke, others listened. Then the doors opened and everything changed. The figure that entered moved with difficulty, supported by medical staff. Ambassador Thronkar of the Diplomatic Corps went pale. "Impossible," he whispered. "That's Dax 7. He's been missing for 20 years. Dax 7 had once represented the Vryn Empire, a civilization of remarkable mathematicians and philosophers. The Vryn had controlled 80 prosperous systems in the galactic south. Had controlled. Past tense. The assembly fell silent as Dax 7 approached the witness platform. His carapace was cracked and scarred. One of his forearms ended in a crude prosthetic. His compound eyes, which should have gleamed with health, were dim and haunted. "I come before this assembly," he began, his translator rendering his clicks and whistles into standard speech, "to deliver a warning that my people ignored. A warning that cost the Vryn Empire everything." Kelisvar made a dismissive gesture. "The Vryn Empire fell to internal strife and economic collapse. This is documented." "That," Dax 7 said quietly, "is the story we told ourselves, the story we spread to hide our shame. The truth is far simpler and far more terrifying. The Vryn Empire was hunted to extinction by humans." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Humans were known to the Assembly, of course. They were recent members, barely 3 generations into galactic society. Aggressive traders. Skilled engineers, but hardly a threat to established powers. "Let him speak," said Councillor Iria of the Methian Confederacy. She was old enough to remember when the Vryn systems went dark. "I want to hear this." Dax 7's voice steadied as he began his testimony. 23 years ago, the Vryn Empire was at its height. Our fleets patrolled 100 systems. Our economy was the envy of neighboring species. Then we encountered humans in the frontier belt, a region of asteroid fields and small mining operations. The humans had established colonies there without proper authorization. Our High Command viewed this as an insult to Vryn sovereignty. We sent a battle group to remove them. 13 warships. It should have been a simple police action. He paused, and when he continued, his voice was hollow. We destroyed 3 human mining stations. The total human casualties were approximately 50,000 people. Miners, their families, support staff. We considered it a measured response. We expected the humans to retreat and negotiate. Instead, they declared something they called total war. Ambassador Kelisvar snorted. 50,000 casualties? That's barely a minor border skirmish. Surely your empire didn't fall because of such a small engagement. That's what we thought too, Dax 7 replied. We were wrong. The humans didn't send diplomats. They didn't ask for terms. They sent a single message to our High Command. You killed our civilians. Now we will kill everything you have ever built. We laughed at them. We had 80 full systems, thousands of warships, trillions of citizens. They had a few dozen colonies and a defense fleet that barely qualified as military grade. We prepared for a short war followed by advantageous peace terms. The war lasted 15 years. At the end, the Vryn Empire no longer existed. The assembly chamber was completely silent now. Even Kelisvar had stopped his dismissive gestures. The humans fought differently than any species we had encountered, Dax 7 continued. Most civilized species fight until the cost becomes too high, then negotiate. Humans fought until we no longer existed as a threat. They didn't want territory. They didn't want resources. They wanted justice for their dead. And they defined justice as complete annihilation of everyone responsible. They started with the battle group that attacked their mining stations. Within 6 months, all 13 ships were destroyed. Every officer who had participated in the attack was hunted down and executed. We thought that would be the end of it. But humans have a concept called chain of command. The battle group had followed orders from Fleet Admiral Cross Venn. So they hunted him. When he died, They moved to the sector commanders who had authorized the mission. Then the high command members who had approved the strategy. Then the politicians who had declared the mining belt part of Vryn space. They created a list. Everyone who had any role in the deaths of those 50,000 humans was on that list. Military personnel, government officials, civilian contractors who had supplied the weapons. The list contained 2 million names. Over 15 years, the humans worked through that list with mechanical precision. They didn't conquer our worlds. They simply removed anyone connected to the attack, anyone who protected those people, anyone who refused to hand them over. Entire fleets were destroyed. Whole systems were blockaded until they surrendered the names on the list. Our government fractured. Some systems tried to negotiate. Others fought. A few tried to hide the guilty. It didn't matter. The humans had something they called the long memory. They kept perfect records. They tracked every person on their list across the galaxy. They waited years for the right moment to strike. They never forgot. They never forgave. They never stopped. By year 10, the Vryn Empire had split into dozens of squabbling factions, each trying to survive by sacrificing the others. By year 12, our homeworld was under siege. By year 15, the last name on the human list was crossed off. Fleet Admiral Crossven's grandson, who had been 7 years old when the mining stations were destroyed, was executed on the day he turned 22. The humans didn't genocide us. They were very specific about that. Vryn citizens who had nothing to do with the attack were allowed to live, but our empire, our government, our military, everything that had made us a power was systematically destroyed. I am the only surviving member of the Vryn diplomatic corps. I was off-world when our homeworld fell. The humans let me live because my name wasn't on their list. They let me live so I could deliver this warning. DAC 7 looked directly at Ambassador Kelisvar. Do not attack the humans. Do not kill their civilians. Do not threaten their homes, because if you do, they will hunt you. They will hunt your commanders. They will hunt your politicians. They will hunt your children and your children's children. They will hunt you across the galaxy and across decades until everyone responsible is dead and your civilization is ash. Other species fight wars. Humans conduct exterminations, and they are very, very good at it. The assembly chamber remained silent for a long moment after DAC 7 finished. Then Ambassador Kelisvar began to laugh. It started as a chuckle and built into full-throated amusement. "This is the warning," he said between laughs, "that we should fear primitives who hide behind empty threats. The Kellian hierarchy controls 300 systems and commands the largest fleet in assembly space. We are not the Vryn. We do not collapse because some humans decide to play at war." Other delegates joined his laughter, though it sounded forced. Councillor Iria did not laugh. "You're making a mistake," DAC 7 said quietly. "The same mistake we made." "The only mistake," Kelisvar declared, "would be allowing human arrogance to go unchecked. They have been violating trade routes in Sector 7 for months. They undercut our shipping prices and ignore our tariffs. Perhaps it's time they learned their place in the Galactic Order." Councillor Iria stood. "I move that we investigate these claims before taking any action against human space." "Denied," Kelisvar said. "The Kellian hierarchy has jurisdiction over Sector 7. We will handle the human problem appropriately." As the assembly session ended and delegates filed out, DAC 7 remained at the witness platform. Councillor Iria approached him. "They didn't listen," she said. "No," DAC 7 agreed. "They never do. Pride is the same in every species. What will you do now?" DAC 7 looked at her with his damaged eyes. "I will find somewhere far from Kellian space. Somewhere I can watch what happens next. I survived one human war. I don't plan to witness another." 3 weeks later, a Kellian strike fleet entered the New Geneva system. High Executive Vrental commanded 60 warships, more than enough to pacify a single human colony. His orders were clear: destroy the orbital shipyards, eliminate the defense platforms, and demand immediate compliance with Kellian trade regulations. As his fleet dropped out of hyperspace above New Geneva, Vrental opened a channel to the colony below. "This is High Executive Vrental of the Kellian hierarchy. You have violated trade agreements and ignored proper tariffs. Your orbital facilities will be destroyed as punishment. Your population will submit to Kellian authority or face consequences." The response came from Governor Sarah Chen, her voice calm and cold. High Executor, you are making a terrible mistake. Leave this system now, and we will consider this a misunderstanding. Vrental cut the connection and gave the order. Begin bombardment. Make it memorable. The Kellian fleet fired on New Geneva for 3 hours. When they finished, the colony's orbital shipyards were molten debris. The defense platforms were shattered hulks, and 2 million human colonists were dead. As his fleet prepared to leave, Vrental received a message on all frequencies. It was broadcast from Earth, from Mars, from every human colony across their territory. This is Admiral Marcus Wright of the Terran Defense Coalition. High Executive Vrental, you have murdered 2 million human civilians. You and everyone under your command are now enemies of humanity. We are coming for you. We are coming for everyone who gave you orders. We are coming for everyone who supported this attack. This is not a war. This is the reckoning, and it will not end until justice is served. Vrental deleted the message and laughed. Humans and their empty threats. He would stop laughing exactly 6 years and 47 days later, in the moments before the executioner's blade fell on his neck. The Kellian High Command gathered in their war room on Kellia Prime, the heart of their 300-system empire. Holographic displays showed the expanding human conflict, now 6 months after New Geneva. The displays were covered in red markers. Supreme Commander Valistor studied the tactical data with growing concern. Update on our losses? Military Intelligence Director Quensar stepped forward, her crystalline form reflecting the harsh lights. In the past 30 days, 17 supply convoys destroyed, 8 border outposts eliminated, and the complete loss of the 4th Reconnaissance Fleet. Total casualties exceed 60,000 personnel. Impossible, declared Fleet Marshal Drencol. The humans don't have the ships for this level of engagement. Our intelligence report showed they had perhaps 200 vessels total. Our intelligence was incomplete, Quensar replied. The humans have been building in secret for decades. Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts, underground facilities on barren worlds, mobile construction platforms that move between systems. Current estimates suggest they have at least 800 combat-capable vessels, possibly more. Valistor's mandibles clicked in agitation. How did we miss this? They planned for this scenario, Quensar said. After their first contact with galactic civilization, they analyzed potential threats and prepared accordingly. They studied us, Supreme Commander. They studied how we fight, how we think, and how we make decisions. Then they prepared for the day someone would attack them. On the holographic display, a new red marker appeared. Another outpost had gone silent. What are their objectives? Valistor demanded. They're not attempting to hold territory. They're not disrupting our major trade routes. What are they doing? Quensar activated a different display, showing personnel files. They're hunting specific individuals. These are the officers and crew from the New Geneva attack. Of the 60 ships that participated in that assault, 47 have been destroyed. The other 13 are in hiding, but the humans keep finding them. So they want revenge on those directly responsible, Fleet Marshal Drencol said. That's manageable. We offer them the guilty parties and negotiate peace. It's not that simple, Quensar replied. She expanded the display. They've also targeted Vice Admiral Krensol, who authorized the mission. Fleet Coordinator Thesran, who provided the logistics. Minister of Expansion Vrelkor, who classified New Geneva as a legitimate target. They've created a list and they're working through it systematically. Valistor felt a chill run through his carapace. How many names are on this list? We've identified approximately 4,000 individuals so far, but the number keeps growing. They're adding anyone who supported the attack, protected the guilty, or refused to cooperate with their demands for justice. On the border world of Threshold Station, Commander Helena Zhao watched her tactical display with satisfaction. Her squadron, the Ghost Fleet, had just eliminated a Kellian supply depot. The operation had taken 14 minutes. No human casualties. Ma'am, we're detecting incoming transmissions from the depot before it was destroyed, reported her communications officer. They sent a distress call on our ship signatures. Good, Helena said. I want them to know who's hunting them. Tag our next target. The Ghost Fleet specialized in asymmetric warfare. They struck without warning, disappeared before reinforcements arrived, and left no survivors to report their tactics. Their ships were painted midnight black with silver text listing the names of those who died at New Geneva. But the Ghost Fleet was just one weapon in Humanity's arsenal. Captain James Rodriguez commanded what the Kellians had learned to fear most, the Shepherd Protocol. His fleet didn't hunt military targets. They hunted supply chains. Target confirmed, his tactical officer reported. Kellian food convoy heading to the garrison at Primus Station. 12 transport ships, 6 escorts. Destroy the escorts, disable the transports, James ordered. Let them drift. They'll send a rescue fleet. And then we destroy the rescue fleet, his executive officer finished. It was a simple tactic, but devastatingly effective. The Kellians couldn't abandon their people, so they had to respond to every distress call. And every response gave the humans another opportunity to inflict casualties. On Earth, in a facility buried deep beneath Geneva's ruins, Director Alicia Park coordinated the psychological warfare campaign. Her team had one job: make the Kellians afraid. Status on the broadcasts? She asked. Broadcasting on all Kellian military frequencies, her communications specialist reported. We're reading the names of everyone on the primary list, along with their last known location and their role in the new Geneva attack. The broadcasts never stopped. 24 hours a day, every day, human voices read names over Kellian channels. Commander Svenkal. Weapons Officer Tresvor. Logistics Coordinator Hrensol. Each name followed by, "We know where you are. We are coming." Kellian crews were beginning to crack under the pressure. Some officers requested transfers to rear positions. Others simply deserted. A few took their own lives rather than wait for the humans to find them. The first major fleet engagement came 6 months after New Geneva at the Belarius cluster. Fleet Marshal Drencol had assembled 200 warships. Determined to crush the human raiders once and for all, Admiral Marcus Wright met him with 150 human vessels. "We outnumber them," Drencol said confidently. "Begin the attack." What followed was 3 days of brutal combat that shattered everything the Kellians thought they knew about warfare. Human ships fought with a coordination that seemed almost telepathic. When damaged, they didn't retreat. They rammed enemy vessels. When surrounded, they detonated their reactors to take enemies with them. The Kellians fought to win. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose. When the battle ended, Drencol's fleet had been reduced to 70 ships. The human fleet had lost 90 vessels. But Admiral Wright's message to the survivors was broadcast across the galaxy. "You won this battle. You destroyed more of our ships than we destroyed of yours. But we're still here. We're still coming. And we will never stop until justice is served. Every ship you destroy will be replaced. Every soldier who falls will be avenged. You cannot outlast us. You cannot outfight us. You cannot make us stop." This is the reckoning. In the Kellian High Command, Supreme Commander Valistor finally understood what they were facing. This wasn't a war in any traditional sense. The humans weren't trying to conquer territory or seize resources. They were conducting a systematic extermination of everyone responsible for New Geneva. "We need to negotiate," he said. "They refuse all diplomatic contact," Quensar reported. "We've sent ambassadors to neutral worlds. We've offered reparations. We've proposed trials for those responsible. They ignore everything. Then what do they want?" Exactly what they said, justice on their terms. By their definition, everyone on their list must be handed over or killed. Everyone who protects those people goes on the list. Everyone who refuses to cooperate goes on the list. Valistor felt his carefully ordered world crumbling. "We're the Kellian hierarchy. We don't surrender to demands from primitives. Then we will die like the Vryn," Quensar said quietly. "Because these primitives won't stop. Can't stop. I've studied their history, Supreme Commander. When humans decide someone is an enemy, they pursue that enemy with single-minded focus that borders on insanity. They don't care about losses. They don't care about costs. They only care about achieving their objective." High Executive Vrental had been in hiding for 8 months, moving between safe houses in the deepest regions of Kellian space. He had 16 bodyguards, all elite soldiers. His location was known only to Supreme Commander Valistor. He felt safe. The assassin entered his bedroom at 0300 hours. Vrental woke to find a human woman standing over him, holding a blade marked with names. 2 million names, etched in microscopic text along the metal. "My name is Sarah Chen," she said. "Governor of New Geneva. You killed my daughter in the bombardment. She was 7 years old." Vrental tried to call for help, but she had already cut his communication device. "I spent 8 months tracking you," Sarah continued. 8 months learning your patterns, bribing your contacts, infiltrating your security. Your bodyguards are dead. Your escape routes are blocked. And now finally we have this moment. Please, Vrental whispered. I was following orders. The High Command authorized... I know, Sarah interrupted. They're on the list too. We'll get to them eventually. But tonight is about you. Tonight is about my daughter and the 2 million others you murdered. The blade fell. When Kelly and security forces found Vrental's body the next morning, they also found a message carved into the wall. Justice served. 1,999,999 to go. Supreme Commander Valistor read the report with shaking hands. If humans could reach Vrental in the heart of protected space, they could reach anyone. The reckoning had only just begun. 6 years after New Geneva burned, the Kellian Empire had been reduced to a shadow of its former power. What had once been 300 prosperous systems was now 12 frightened worlds huddled behind failing defenses. The Kellian fleets, once the pride of the galaxy, were scattered wreckage drifting in the void. Admiral Marcus Wright stood on the bridge of the TDCS Remembrance, flagship of the human fleet. Before him, displayed on massive view screens, was Kellia Prime, the Kellian homeworld. Around it, orbiting like patient predators, were 800 human warships. Status report, Marcus commanded. Planetary shields are failing, sir, his tactical officer reported. The orbital defense network is down to 15%. Enemy fleet presence, 9 ships, all heavily damaged. We're receiving multiple surrender offers. Marcus's expression remained cold as stone. Ignore them. Continue the siege. Nothing leaves. Nothing enters. For 6 months, the human fleet had blockaded Kellia Prime. Every supply ship that tried to reach the planet was destroyed. Every vessel that attempted to flee was hunted down. The Kellian capital was slowly starving. Exactly as the humans intended, Captain Wei Jiang commanded the ground forces, preparing to land on Kellia Prime. Her soldiers were veterans of dozens of engagements, but this mission was different. This was the endgame. Remember your orders, she told her officers. We're not here to slaughter civilians. We're here to capture specific individuals for trial. Minimize collateral damage. Our war is with the guilty, not the innocent. The distinction mattered to the humans. When the Kellians had attacked New Geneva, they had deliberately targeted civilians. The humans had spent 6 years targeting only military assets and those responsible for ordering the attack. The difference was carefully documented for the galaxy to see. The landing was unopposed. Kellian military forces had long since collapsed. What few soldiers remained were more interested in protecting their families than defending their leaders. Supreme Commander Valistor was found in his command bunker, surrounded by his senior staff. They surrendered without resistance, their faces showing the exhaustion of 6 years running from an enemy that never stopped coming. The trial was held on New Geneva, in a newly constructed courthouse built on the ruins of the old colony. Representatives from every major galactic civilization attended, either in person or via holographic link. The Galactic Assembly had demanded transparency, and humanity had agreed. Prosecutor General David Okonkwo stood before the tribunal, his voice steady as he presented evidence that had taken 6 years to compile. The defendant, Supreme Commander Valistor, authorized the attack on New Geneva, knowing full well that it was a civilian colony. Intelligence briefings clearly showed that the primary population consisted of families, not military personnel. Yet the attack proceeded with deliberate targeting of residential areas, schools and medical facilities. He displayed communications logs showing Kellian officers discussing how to maximize civilian casualties. He showed tactical recordings of Kellian ships deliberately bombing evacuation centers. He showed medical data proving that Kellian weapons had been set to cause maximum suffering rather than quick death. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Valistor attempted to speak in his defense. We believed we were conducting a legitimate police action against a rebellious colony. The New Geneva settlement had violated trade agreements and 2 million people, David interrupted. 2 million civilians who had nothing to do with trade agreements or political disputes, children, elderly, medical patients. You ordered their deaths to make a political point. Defense counsel, provided by the Galactic Assembly to ensure fairness, could find no counter-argument. The evidence was too clear, too documented, too damning. Ambassador Dax 7 sat in the viewing gallery watching history repeat itself. Beside him, Councillor Iria whispered, "They're thorough." "They're human," Dax 7 replied. "Thoroughness is how they hunt." The verdicts came after 3 months of testimony. Guilty on all counts. 2,400 Kellian personnel were convicted of war crimes. The sentences were death for those who had given orders, life imprisonment for those who had simply followed them but shown remorse. High Executor Vrental had already been killed during his capture, but his name was read at the sentencing anyway. The humans wanted complete accounting. The executions were carried out exactly 6 years and 47 days after New Geneva fell. The timing was deliberate. The humans had counted every single day since their colony burned. Supreme Commander Valis Tor was the last to face execution. As he stood before the executioner, he was given the opportunity to speak final words. "I was wrong," he said quietly. "Everything we believed about humans was wrong. We thought they were weak because they preferred trade to war. We thought they would negotiate because that's what civilized species do. We never understood that humans don't fight like us. They fight with a completeness that is terrifying." The blade fell. The Galactic Assembly convened 1 month later to discuss the implications of humanity's victory. The chamber was much quieter than it had been 6 years ago. Several civilizations that had laughed at Dax 7's warning were notably absent. They had made the mistake of supporting the Kellian attack and were now facing their own reckonings. Ambassador. Dax 7 was invited to speak again, this time as a cautionary example rather than a dismissed prophet. 6 years ago, I warned this assembly not to attack humanity. Most of you laughed. The Kellian hierarchy is now gone. Their empire is dissolved. Their military is destroyed. Their leadership is dead. This is what happens when you threaten human civilians. But I also bring a different message today. The humans are not monsters. They are not conquerors. They simply refuse to accept attacks on their people without response. Every species that has negotiated fairly with humanity has found them to be excellent partners. Every species that has threatened them has learned this lesson. He gestured to the human delegation, led by Admiral Marcus Wright. They are now the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. What they do with that power will define the next era of galactic civilization. Marcus stepped forward to address the assembly. Humanity didn't want this war. We wanted to trade, to explore, to cooperate with other species. The Kellians forced this conflict by attacking our civilians. We responded as we had to respond. But now we offer a choice to every civilization here. Work with us in peace, and you'll find no better allies. Threaten our people, and you'll face the same fate as the Kellians. The choice has always been yours. The human accords were signed 3 months later. They established clear rules for engagement, trade, and conflict resolution. The accords included one clause that every civilization agreed to without debate. No signatory nation shall deliberately target civilian populations of any other signatory. Violations of this clause will result in immediate intervention by the Terran Defense Coalition, with full support of the Galactic Assembly. Humanity had become the galaxy's protector, not through conquest, but through the hard lesson they had taught the Kellians. On New Geneva, now rebuilt and more populous than before, a memorial stood in the central plaza. It listed every name of those who had died in the Kellian attack. 2 million names carved in black stone that would last millennia. Above the memorial, in letters of gold, was inscribed humanity's promise: never again, never forgotten, never forgiven. Governor Sarah Chen, who had hunted down High Executive Vrental personally, stood before the memorial every morning. She had retired from active military service, but remained on New Geneva to ensure the colony thrived. "They made us into hunters," she said to a visiting journalist. "We didn't want to be. We wanted to be explorers, scientists, traders. But when they killed our children, they left us no choice. Now the galaxy knows what we're capable of when threatened. Hopefully they also understand that we'd prefer never to demonstrate it again." The journalist, a young Methian with recorder drones following her, asked the question everyone wanted answered. "Do you think humanity has changed because of this war?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "We haven't changed. We've just shown what we always were. Most of the time, humans are peaceful, creative, cooperative. We build rather than destroy. We help rather than harm. But every human civilization throughout our history has understood one fundamental truth. When someone threatens your family, you don't negotiate. You don't compromise. You eliminate the threat completely, so it can never harm your people again. The galaxy is safer now because they understand this about us. Species that want peace will have it. Species that want war will get more than they bargained for. Across the galaxy, in the ruins of what had been the Kellian Empire, a new generation was growing up. They learned about the war in their schools, about the mistakes their leadership had made, about the price of underestimating humanity. On Kellia Prime, now governed by a council of reformed leaders, children visited memorials to their own dead. But beside those memorials stood another monument, this one built by humans, a statue of a human child holding a Kellian child, with an inscription in both languages, "May our children never repeat our mistakes." The galaxy had learned its lesson. It had cost the Kellians everything to teach it, but the lesson was clear. Humans would trade with you, cooperate with you, befriend you, but attack their civilians, and they would hunt you across the stars until justice was served. No matter how long it took, no matter what it cost, no matter how many times you tried to hide. In a small observation station on the edge of human space, an ambitious Zarkonian admiral reviewed intelligence reports on human shipping routes. His fleet was powerful. His government wanted to expand. The human trade convoys seemed vulnerable. Then he remembered the Kellian lesson. He remembered the Vryn lesson before that. He thought about his children, his homeworld, his civilization. He deleted the attack plans and proposed a trade agreement instead. The humans accepted. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more epic HFY tales of vengeance, survival, and humanity's rise among the stars. New stories every week, and because in this galaxy, humans never stop the hunt.